and let us all do we can to build a better future.
So, folks, for those of you who are unaware, there was a recent situation that happened with AOC where she was confronted by activists calling her out for being absent, for calling out the ridiculous regime change wars that we're seeing, that we're all going through, and
for being a phony, and it was
yeah.
glorious. It was all over Twitter. It was glorious.
And the thing is, what I want everyone to understand is that, look, AOC and a lot of the squad members ran this idea of being progressives, being unapologetic, trying to shake up the apple cart, trying to, challenge the system. And for the most part, let's face it, AOC and the squad decided to just become another gear in the machine of the Democratic establishment. And when finally confronted for her hypocrisy, AOC decided to start making accusations. So shout out to Aaron Mate, award-winning journalist, who again speaks truth to power. Don't believe the BS propaganda from TYT. Aaron Buzzsaw Mate speaks the truth. So here we go. AOC accuses her anti-war protesters of parroting pro-Putin talking points, which is BS. She has nothing to say about Biden's rejection of diplomacy, nor explain how the squad-approved billions of dollars in weapons will help end the war. She instead invokes Ukraine's self-determination. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about this right here. Oh, hold on. She goes on to say, okay, this was a question to her on her Instagram page. Could you speak on being confronted by anti-war protesters? To which AOC wrote, and this is completely showing how much of an egomaniac she truly is and how there's a true lack of accountability for her. Sure, they were actually not anti-war protesters. They were right-wing Trumpers. What? What does a Trumper look like, AOC? Go ahead, Jerry.
Politicians on Instagram.
Yeah, I know.
That's for like influencers and insecure people who constantly have to share selfies and pictures of how great their lives are.
Exactly.
Look, man, I'm surprised she didn't go on to say that these people who were protesting her or who were screaming her down were pissed off because they also wanted to date her because she's.
I forgot she said that.
Remember that? Yeah.
And she also says, and some were LaRouche cult members,
right,
not progressives, as they claimed. Their own social media history shows this. It was a stunt that they did to do from time to time. Last time they showed up to a town hall yelling about eating babies or something. It's a thing they do to go viral and draw in people. This time they are parroting pro-Putin talking points. It is not anti-war to support Russia's imperialist project to invade and seize neighboring countries either. Ukraine, like other nations, has the right to self-determination. The only person instigating threats of nuclear weapons is Putin. No one else. Well, gee, I guess the Biden-Harris administration should put the brakes to NATO doing nuclear rehearsals near the borders. Let's face it, there's not only the United States, but other NATO members who are doing this kind of training operations. And by the way, I covered this on yesterday's show. Madness and stupidity all around. And now here's where she starts calling out Tulsi Gabbard. As far as their comments about Tulsi Gabbard, has voted more defense budget increases than I ever have. Hey, what about that Iron Dome funding that you voted present for? Look it up. Happy to dig more into Ukraine and other posts. A lot of these right-wing video and social media stunts are predicated on people not knowing the context and just believing whatever the person is saying for face value. For example, in the video, they cut out the part where they waited to yell until a deaf constituent, which is not true, was trying to ask a question. So it looked like everyone was mad at their words instead of the fact that they were harming a person with disability. Wait a minute.
She didn't address anything about what they were screaming about, in that everything she's supporting is drawing, with the Biden administration, is drawing us closer to the precipice of nuclear war. And for her to be so completely ignorant of the history of what got us here, with the fact that the Ukraine is in not in Russia's backyard, Ukraine is at Russia's front door. And we've been pushing and supporting Ukraine. Can you imagine, Kit, how riled up we'd be over here if Russia decided to, I don't know, like park their forces somewhere in Canada in our front Door?
Oh man, actually, it did happen. It did happen. It was a thing called the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Well, that was in Cuba.
Yeah, I know, but it was right by Florida.
I'm talking about presently. If Russia decided, and I say Canada because Canada's actually a little bit closer. It's literally on the same continent as Ukraine is with Russia. So for her to just be so completely oblivious and ignore everything that the United States has done to drive us to this moment, because it's about the oil, it's about controlling that pipeline from Russia into Western Europe, it's about economics. This has nothing to do with Ukrainian suffering, and completely ignore what the protesters were shouting her down about, is that this is bringing us closer to nuclear war. And I do think, from a lot that I've read, even Elon Musk was commenting on this on Twitter. Not that I'm a huge supporter of Elon Musk, but there's a lot of chatter, especially, and we reported on this, Biden telling his supporters at a private fundraiser that we are closer to nuclear war, that this could be a present-day Cuban Missile Crisis that the general public is not aware of.
Yeah, and the thing is, okay, so if it gets to become something far worse than the Cuban Missile Crisis, that's where, I know, controversial statement in 3, 2, 1, diplomacy needs to happen so we can avoid a military conflict with another nuclear superpower. I just want to say this again. Look, folks, it's a little bit in our Patreon and history. It was just a video. It wasn't well edited on my part, but I did a 30-minute, I think maybe 35-minute video of me walking inside the Hiroshima Peace Museum. And let's face it, folks, walking into that museum, you are not going to walk out the same. If you are feeling happy-go-lucky and smiling, you are going to feel a sense of dread and sadness of what happened to that city. It was an atomic bomb landed on that city. And now we have far more devastating weapons than the one that landed over Hiroshima. So my thoughts on this is this, and it's very simple. I want to pull up again the words from Aaron Mate, again, outstanding journalist, award-winning journalist, by the way. Let me go ahead and pull this up here, so at least we have this set and ready. He goes on to say, to my knowledge, AOC has never said a word about the 2014 U.S.-backed coup or the ensuing 8-year war where U.S. weapons helped bombard rebellious Ukrainians fighting for their self-determination, or the 2015 Minsk Accords, the deal for ending that war, which Ukraine and the U.S. has ignored. AOC also dismisses the protesters based on their apparent affiliations. Let's say that she's right about them. Individuals are not the issue.
There we go.
The issue is disastrous proxy war that is being fueled with full support of progressives who dismiss criticism as pro-Putin. So here, I want to pull up this video. Hold on. Let me just go ahead and pull this video up right here. It's, again, Aaron Mate. He was on Tucker Carlson, but I want to refresh people's minds on this because, again, look, we got to end this conflict before it gets into something far worse. Again, if you want to see how a nuclear war will end and what will be in store for humanity, go watch Threads. It came out in 1984, okay? There's no great rebuilding. There's no Mad Max adventure. There's no, we will rebuild after this disaster. No, that's the end. We're going to regress back into a husk of what humanity once was. Trust me on it, folks. It ain't going to be pretty, but yet you got progressives and vote blue no matter who people that are foaming at the mouth for unending war.
Yeah, I mean, if Marjorie Taylor Greene is more anti-war than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she is, then we're in an upside down world. Like, this is true craziness. Will this change, or is she in for as long as it takes, too?
Well, look, a major problem in the Democratic Party has been the propaganda campaign known as Russiagate. For 6 years, Democrats have been taught to believe that Russia is an existential enemy that can brainwash millions of Americans into not supporting Hillary Clinton and swinging elections. And that now, accordingly, when it comes to this proxy war, that there's no point in negotiating with them, even though, by the way, Russiagate has been used to undermine a progressive agenda, not just being used to funnel dollars into the military-industrial complex, but also has been used to sabotage progressive candidates. Remember Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders in 2016 came very close to winning the Democratic Party nomination. Hillary Clinton lost that race to Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton responded by blaming Russia for everything and concocting a conspiracy theory that Trump was a Russian asset. Bernie Sanders, instead of calling that out, went along with it, and he was awarded in 2020 when he was surging in the primaries before Nevada. He was Russiagated. Some leaks were made that were accusing Russia of supporting him. So that's how the Democratic Party will even progressives who are loyal to their agenda. And if that doesn't wake them up, then maybe the increasing prospect of nuclear war should.
All right. So again, shout out to Aaron Mate. And again, he's a speaker of Truth to Power. Look, Jerry, I want to get your thoughts on this real quick. Immediately, when you look at something like this, what are your thoughts, especially on the failures of the progressives that we supposedly put trust in 2018?
They're not progressives, Kit.
Yeah.
They become neoliberals, and it's just so disappointing and nauseating that they continue to claim that label when I think that in his tweet, in the tweet that you mentioned earlier, that Aaron had posted, this is not about labels. It's not about whether you're pro Putin, this, that, or the other. It's about de-escalating a potential global Armageddon. And that these people that we put faith in, that we thought were real progressives, have just, you mentioned earlier when AOC, what was the vote that she voted present on?
She voted present on the Iron Dome, and this was in 2021, where Nancy Pelosi, old Nancy, was wagging her finger and made AOC cry.
Probably told her she was going to cut her campaign funding off. She was going to bring a ruckus, and she's just joined the big club that we're not a part of. And I mean, I don't know. Kit, we talk about this all the time. I mean, what more is there to say? It leaves me speechless because I don't know what more I can say that we haven't already said about these people.
I want to pull up this video, and this is from The Hill, and they discuss how AOC is angry at Tulsi Gabbard and is upset at the criticism that she's getting. And here's the thing:
she's got no self-awareness. She's got no self-awareness to understand why people are despise her now, because she's become the political celebrity. This was all about becoming a celebrity for her, I think.
Now the thing is, I want everyone to understand this. Look, I had Pasta on the show, and obviously on our Rockfin interview that we had, you check it out. It's on Rockfin right now. The full live stream is on Rockfin, because obviously we have to be careful with how we say certain words here on YouTube, and YouTube likes to censor people. But Pasta is very critical of Tulsi Gabbard. I'm pretty sure the entire audience is too. But at the end of the day, look, Tulsi Gabbard is a private citizen, and the fact that AOC is deflecting and trying to make Tulsi into this end-all, be-all threat or somehow undermining her, it shows how insecure AOC and the entire progressive movement is. When you have people like Kyle Kalinske fail miserably in their Save a Politician video and being called out by their audience, the thing is, we don't owe these politicians respect. We don't owe these politicians a defense, because the thing is, there are people who are angry with our elected officials, and rightfully so. Jerry, you were going to say something.
Well, she's deflecting, Kit. Yeah. And interesting you bring up Tulsi, because when we talked about Tulsi leaving the Democratic Party, I think it was last week or the week before.
Yeah, it was the week before.
Claiming that she was independent, we were talking about her, and I've given Tulsi a lot of benefit of the doubt. I don't agree with her on everything. Then I saw her podcast on YouTube, which made me feel like, oh, she's going to completely run as a Republican and a conservative. So I am questioning Tulsi's motives now too, because I'm not right or left. I'm trying to assess the situation for what it is. But as far as AOC, totally deflecting the criticism by casting light on Tulsi is just her avoiding actually addressing the question that's put before her. She's not really a progressive anymore. She is a neoliberal Democrat. She's not changing the party from within. The bear ate her and it shit her out, and this is what we've got now.
Exactly.
That metaphor you use about people deciding they're going to let the bear eat them so they can change the bear from within.
Yep. I'm going to say this too about with Tulsi. Look, whether or not she chooses the decision to get back into politics, the fact that she has gotten people, especially on the left, the progressive movement, vote blue no matter who, having mental breakdowns, it really shows how there was no hope to ever reform the Democratic Party, and people like Kyle and Cenk wasted people's time. Let's play this video here.
AOC is sharing her thoughts on a confrontation she had with anti-war protesters. She posted this statement on Instagram saying, in part, they were right-wing Trumpers, not progressives, as they claimed. This time, they were parroting pro-Putin talking points. It is not anti-war to support Russia's imperialist project to invade and seize neighboring countries.
The New York Congresswoman also addressed comments made about Tulsi Gabbard, saying Gabbard voted for more defense budget increases than I ever have. Look it up. Meanwhile, Tulsi Gabbard has endorsed Republican candidate Carrie Lake for governor in Arizona. She tweeted her support and highlighted that, quote, Carrie Lake isn't afraid to call out the warmongering elitist cabal of permanent Washington and the military-industrial complex.
I want to pause right here because we here at Heartland's Media, we acknowledge when Marjorie Taylor Greene was calling out, hey, why are we doing this unending war? So the thing is, look, to be fair, when a Democratic or Republican politician gets something right, we'll tip our hat to it. Okay, fine. Do I expect consistency from these politicians? No. But if they say something that, okay, great, I wonder what the follow-through will be. But the thing is, look, Tulsi as a private citizen is making this statement. She's not in Congress anymore. And so the thing is the fact that AOC, to Jerry's point, is saying that, oh, well, you know, you're AOC is deflecting. The thing is that's all that AOC knows how to do at this point.
It's her whataboutism. It's the constant whataboutism to not actually answer the question that's presented to them.
And here's one thing, too. What is preventing AOC or the squad, if they really wanted to flex their power? You know, Tulsi Gabbard has a lot of bills that she did in Congress. If they wanted to undo them or make something better or put a better version of what Tulsi Gabbard did, hey, AOC, what's stopping you? What's stopping you? There's nothing stopping you. The thing is, if they really wanted to show their real political power, if they really wanted to show how strong they were, they would be able to move Biden to the left, or they'd be challenging the Biden-Harris administration, which they're not. AOC said that Biden is exceeding expectations. Hey, squad, the kids are still in cages. See, the thing is, the difference between Tulsi Gabbard and the squad and AOC and all her sycophants is that the squad's still in Congress. They could still do things, in theory, if they wanted to. I'm saying if they wanted to, but they won't. Remember, this is the same AOC with Cori Bush who had to run to stop Mama Bear from adjourning Congress. How'd that turn out?
A lot to unpack here.
Indeed. Okay, so right off the bat, a lot of leftists were very frustrated by AOC's response. Even some people who were initially sympathetic to her, they didn't like the tone of the protesters, they didn't like the way they shouted her down, have been turned off over the course of the following couple of days for the following reasons. One is, I think, really aggressively mischaracterizing what the protesters were asking for. She says that it's not anti-war to support Putin's invasion, or whatever the language was. Obviously, they weren't standing there saying, we want to support Putin's invasion.
Right.
What they were questioning was why AOC has voted uncritically, without any commentary, without any push for peace negotiation or peace talks, the billions of dollars in funding to Ukraine, military aid to Ukraine, no scrutiny about where the money is going, where the weapons are going, any of those kinds of things. And they're saying that doing that in effect is leading to war, given that the State Department has said very clearly that its goal is to do basically regime change and to quote unquote weaken Russia, right? So that's the critique.
And to continue offering support until whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Yes. Whatever it takes. So
we'll pause here. Obviously, there's a little bit more into the video. But Jerry, I want to get your thoughts on it. And by the way, too, I think your sound from your pad is actually coming through on the audio. Can you mute that?
Yeah, let me shut it down. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
I had an incoming message I had to take.
Okay, all good. But let's go ahead and get your thoughts on that real quick, Jerry. Especially where you have people saying that AOC is deflecting. She is trying to drag in Tulsi Gabbard. She's trying to shame these other activists who are calling her out, especially during her town hall. Your thoughts?
Just what I said before. When is she going to be held accountable for this? We know that she's just look. It's become a grift now with her kit. Mm-hmm. She doesn't want to be held accountable. I mean. I feel like it's the only thing I can say, the deflection and just not being held accountable to actually doing what people put her there for.
By the way, shout out to the audience. Marvin Vargas writes, AOC advancing oligarchy campaign. There you go. But the thing is though, Jerry, when you have people who are calling for peace or diplomacy, because the longer this conflict goes on, I think the further we're getting closer to the end of the human species, because it can get one wrong move, one wrong decision, and somebody's going to push that shiny red button. And
if she was really a progressive, progressives would be screaming from the rooftops about get us out of these endless wars.
Yeah, which
that's by nature of what progressives are supposed to do.
Yeah,
and she's, well, what about Tulsi Gabbard? What about? Right? That's wasn't that her quote one time when people were calling her out that way?
Yeah.
She's. I'm wondering how soon I think she's just waiting for her book deal.
Probably so. Well, I mean, Cory Bush got hers. AOC. AOC's book will be How I Scammed the Progressive Suckers. So there we go. That's going to be her book deal.
Let's also review what has she done in her short tenure now? I can't think of one thing that AOC
Just tweet.
Pose on the covers of magazines.
Yep.
Complain that any one of her critics is some misogynist that hates her and because she won't date
or wants to date them. There you go.
I mean, it's utterly just empty, vapid platitudes from her all the time.
I also want to pull this video up here too because I found this gem. It was a great collage video. It was done by a Twitter account called, I think, Anno Mello Caris 007. I hope I said that correctly. But it's a video where you have Fat Tony, I mean Cenk Uygur, talking about how Jimmy Dore and Tucker Carlson, Tulsi Gabbard, and anyone else are Putin puppets and want ongoing war and are just straight up cartoon villains, which again, it's stupid. But the thing is, I think what everyone fails to realize is that TYT got that Katzenberg cash, and TYT has been constantly carrying water for the Biden-Harris administration. And we're going to talk about the failure of Biden a little bit later on the show. But here, TYT equals MSDNC on YouTube. And Fat Tony, I mean, Cenk Uygur, are lying to your face about Jimmy Dore, Tucker Carlson, Tulsi Gabbard, because they know that these are the people who could unite the anti-imperialists left-right to take down the establishment and Katzenberg that pays them. Hashtag TYT sucks. And I found this video to be really well done.
I hear Tulsi and Tucker and Jimmy Dore all say, like, oh, we're against the war. That's why we should not help Ukraine. Do not help the Ukrainians. But I've never heard them say, oh, we're also, of course, against Putin, that monster that started this war.
Yes, they have. They've been very critical of Putin.
Wouldn't you lead with that? Wouldn't you reiterate that all the time? Wouldn't you?
Oh, Jerry, don't worry. This is a work of art here. I love this. And by the way, you can find the link to this in the show notes and description box below. Go on, Jerry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Completely disingenuous. They might not always lead with it, but they are not Putin supporters. You see, here's what Cenk is doing, and this is what he always does. If you cast light on the sins of United States imperialism, it means you must be pro-Putin. That's not it. Mm-hmm. This is as we are holding the Democratic Party accountable. We know what scumbags the Republicans are. There are plenty of other people who are screaming at the Republicans. We are trying to clean up what we once claimed as our side, who we used to align with. So for anybody that is critical of as Cenk is talking about here, for him to disingenuously say they're not leading with being critical of Putin, that's a given.
So Jerry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you. I just realized I paused Cenk at
it's a perfect
time where his face looks goofy as hell.
He looks like he just squirted out a wet fart.
Yeah, something like that.
Did you say it once? No, never.
Bullshit.
Never.
Bullshit.
Putin started this war. So whatever the context of the decision that he made, he did it. He fired the first shots. He is to blame for what we're seeing tonight in Ukraine.
Yeah.
The question is, once we've established that, and it's obvious, how should the United States respond to what he has done?
No, never.
Is it, I'm against war, so I would say no, I'm against him invading Ukraine.
We all
are. At the same time, everyone from Noam Chomsky to Henry Kissinger agreed that we were the one provoking him to do that and that he was acting rationally to do so.
No, never.
First of all, I do not in any way support Putin's decision to go into Ukraine. It is causing and going to cause an immense amount of suffering for the people there. I've been to Ukraine a few times. I have personal friends who are still in Ukraine.
No, never.
People have nothing to do with politics. Everyday Ukrainians, and they're afraid, Tucker, and they're angry. They're angry at Russia. They're angry at America, and they're angry at the failure of leadership that could have prevented this. And that is the thing that is most tragic about this heartbreaking situation with this war, is that it could have been avoided.
No, never, never.
Go ahead, Jerry.
No, everything that's there. I mean, we should be de-escalating. De-escalation does not mean you're pro-Putin. None of us condone what Putin did.
No.
He basically got pushed into a situation that we've escalated even prior. We reported on this previously. The long history of the United States' involvement with NATO, with Ukraine, supporting Ukraine when it's right in Russia's, again, on their front doorstep, promises we made in the past that were broken, that basically put Putin into this situation. It doesn't condone what he's done, but we have to take accountability for how our country has to take accountability for how it has participated in escalating this. And at this point, that they're banging on the drums to continue forward at the risk of nuclear Armageddon is just, it's unconscionable. And this asshole here, you know, Cenk, Fat Tony, as you like to call him,
Fat Tony,
disingenuously claiming that nobody has been critical of Putin just shows why the Young Turks are such a dismal failure, while they also claim to be progressives. You know, another bunch of phonies over there.
Yep, Fat Tony.
Never. So go ahead, Tulsi Gabbard. Go ahead. I dare you to say that Putin's a monster who started this war. She'll never say it because she works for him.
Putin reacted to a situation that's been ongoing that we basically pushed him into. And yeah, he did. He escalated on his side, but it was a response. That's what people like Cenk are unwilling to acknowledge here, because while they claim to be progressives, they claim to be to hold the Democrats accountable. They're really not. They're just carrying more water for them.
Agreed 100%. And the thing, as a final note for this story, you know, I just want to end it with this Twitter account right here. I think it's just important that we just see it right here. In response, when AOC was calling him out, this is the gentleman who did that who posted that video calling out AOC. He said, "Sorry, I didn't go to leftist finishing school. I'm 24 years old. I was 2 when 9/11 happened. The country has known nothing but war for the last 20 plus years. Why is it whenever I ask these progressive leftists to do something, they never do?" Because
they're not progressives. They hijacked that name. Progressive was a good thing.
Yep.
Until the squad glommed onto it to get votes, get in there, claim that they were going to change the Democratic Party, claim that they were going to reform the Democratic Party the way we wanted them to, and just became everything that they beheld. And they're utterly useless now, useless and powerless, because they're depending on, you know, Pelosi and all of the higher members of the party to like approve and fund their campaign so they can stay where they are now and do magazine covers like AOC does and attend these Met galas. And you know, just pivot and deflect all the time in regards to what they're supposed to be there for and de-escalating a global conflict.
I agree. And so as a final note, look, folks, the progressive movement doesn't care about you. They don't like you. They don't respect you. And they sure as hell will never do anything to fight for you. Simple as that.
How do we reclaim the progressive label? Because progressive was a good thing.
No.
When you say they don't care about us, it's like, do we have to look? Liberal used to be a good word until that got bastardized. Now they've bastardized progressive. How do we reclaim I mean, if not that we want to wear labels, but you know, identify the ideals by which we're trying to promote equity.
You really want to know how you could reclaim something? And this is something that every single American voter is going to have to come to terms with. And I don't care what generation you're part of, how you vote, who you worship, the color of your skin. You must identify yourself and what your values are. You must fight for what you believe in. And you must stand out and be a leader in your community and fight for that better future. Because there's nothing that can be done right now to fight for a better future by associating yourself with the Democratic Party. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Or the Republican Party. Let's not let ourselves get branded that we're not critical of them too.
Yeah.
But right now we're trying to reform the side that we thought had hope, that used to represent the values that we ascribe to.
Agreed.